Well, I don't normally do videos on multiplayer games, although I'd like to do some more in the future, but I kind of had to after a game a friend and I had today. And it's actually quite funny. So if we just get rid of that and start into it. My friend and I were just jumping into random games of Rocket League, just playing casually. When we joined this game, and I noticed right off the bat something that piqued my curiosity. We were up against a Season 8 Grand Champion. Now, I don't know in what field he was a Grand Champion. You know, doubles, triples, rumble, etc. I don't know. But we were just playing casually. When my friend and I, this friend I play with, when we do play competitive, we're about Plat 1, maybe Plat 2 level at best. We both have jobs, we both spend time working, etc. We don't have time to spend hours a day in training modes in the practice menu, etc. in an attempt to get better. So we just kind of play for fun. But we got into this game and I figured immediately being up against this guy that we were going to be outclassed and stomped on. And I was a little wrong. They did pull a couple of fast ones on us at a couple of points. They did get several goals in. We played 2 games with them. This was the first one. And kind of interesting. That guy right there who's ball handling at the moment, that was the Season 8 Grand Champion. The guy who just scored is his buddy. They're obviously teamed up. I think one guy's on PC and one's just on Xbox or PlayStation. Either way. And I kind of figured this game was be a rout pretty quickly, but by this point in the game, even though we were 1 goal down, I didn't honestly feel like we were going to be that bad off with them. There's obviously a lot of things we did wrong, but we were able to hold the ball at several different positions and be able to get things past them, and it felt almost predictable in some of their methodologies. Even though Kraken, I don't know how you pronounce his name, her name. Their name? Anyway, even though I don't know how to pronounce that, I was kind of expecting them being a Season 8 Grand Champion to be super good, and while he was decent at freestyling, his predictability was pretty intense. I don't really know how to describe it. It was easy enough to see how they were going to play the game. There's several areas, that's one of them, where it was easy enough to get the upper hand. Like that on the face-off of the first save I got actually ended up being a double epic save, or 2 epic saves in a row. So it was kind of hard to see what these guys, what their plan was here. Obviously we had a wide window open right there for them to dunk on us, and they just ended up not doing it. Unlike my mistake earlier on, where I jumped straight in, and we lost the goal there, I was able to predict it this time as to what was going on, so that we didn't just get immediately dunked on. And so as the game went on, it was pretty obvious that Kraken's either playing poorly on purpose, just trying to test out a few certain things like his freestyling capabilities, etc., or else that he was just simply trying to gauge our level of play and then dunk on us. And that's kind of the assumption I carried as the game went on. And again, right here, this is what I was talking about. He's freestyling, but it was predictable enough to see what he was going for. He wanted me to pop up and go for that ball, and I'll rewind back here so you can see. On this ball right here, as they go to shoot it into the net after my friend knocks it out, here he comes with it. And he shoots it straight up, and I can see he's freestyling, but I notice he goes for the upper hit, or to hit it off the backboard. And so it's predictable enough to see that he wants to go for the second shot on it to get it in, rather than the initial shot. And I'll show it one more time. He comes in with that freestyle, and I can see at that point, after he made that first hit on it right there, I can see that he's going to be taking it up for the top bar. I figured there was a chance that I was misreading the ball and it was just going to slide in, but I didn't want to overcommit, which is why I backed further into the net and waited for that hit to get the save. I'm pretty terrible at Rocket League when it comes to mechanics and execution, but I'm a pretty decent reader to see what's going on, or at least I'd like to think so. And this is where the game went downhill for them. It is very fun to watch. I think, anyway. They just got sloppy. My friend and I play often enough with each other that we have a pretty decent rotation figured out. We're able to keep up with each other, rotate around. We play with each other often enough to kind of have an idea of what the other person's doing at just about any given moment in time. I went for a cheeky little ram on Krauken there, which failed. But we rotate pretty well, as you know, we can kind of gauge as to what the other party's doing. And this I didn't understand right there, why he saved it for us, because if he just didn't touch it, his buddy would have been able to get it in. So I took the opportunity to get more boost, and then watched him freestyle into his own goal. That was the one I really didn't understand, was why he freestyled it into his own goal. And then not much else of worth happened until later on, where we got one more save, which is right here. He took a pretty cheap shot there. I tried to fake him out, which worked, and my buddy was behind me to be able to get the save off. And that was it. That was pretty much the game. 3-2 was the final bit. So it worked out very well in our favor. Again, right there with that last action right here, very predictable. He sends the ball this way, carries it this way, and I'm able to just intercept it. If he had kept it on the ground and tried to boot me out of the way instead, his buddy might have been able to capitalize on it. Hard to say. But it was obvious just by watching them play at this point, they had little chance of actually overcoming us. We just kept our rotation tight and held on to defense. And there you see he's going for, you know, another cheeky freestyle, which ended up failing. I nearly missed the save, or at least the stall on that ball, because I was expecting him to chip it and he didn't. And that was game. That was game. And so then we got on to a second game with them. They decided to rematch us. And I'll just let the game speak for itself. It started out pretty stereotypically as you'd expect for a game, except for that right there. I honestly didn't understand what happened there. They obviously had a breach of communication of some sort, because they both decided to go for boost instead of the ball, which allowed us to get a very cheeky face-off goal. And then we just watched them play midfield, and was able to get a cheeky top hit off to prevent them from getting a goal there. And then they just, well, set us up pretty blatantly. So that's 2 goals in a very short period of time. Yeah, 4 minutes in. Sorry, under 4 minutes. Barely within 4 minutes. We were at 30 seconds there, 28 seconds. And we are already 2 goals in. And the game kind of went downhill for them from there. They got a couple of goals in. Krauken's still trying his freestyling, which I have to admit he's pretty good at. I have watched a lot of guide videos on YouTube to try and understand how to get better at Rocket League. And again, just without the amount of time to put into practice, it's just not going to happen. And so every situation I see where he's creating a setup for himself or his buddy here, I just take the relaxed approach. Instead of attempting to contest them on a wall and potentially lose a 50-50, I'll just let them play with it as they want. They can do what they please with it. I really wish I had been recording this live instead of off of the replay for the commentary, because my friend and I were just laughing our heads off about Krauken's play. Again, I don't know what level of playing field he's a grand champ in, whether it was, you know, 2v2 or triples or what have you. But still, I found it very interesting that a grand champion player from season 8 would be lacking in so many areas, in my opinion anyway. He lacked primarily, oh, I'm terrible at this game, I can't fly obviously, but he lacked on teamwork, is what I found. Is he often just did things by himself or for himself and neglected his friend. There were a couple instances where they had a good set of teamwork happen, but for the most part it felt to me like a lot of his decisions for how to handle the ball in the midfield or for passes and sets was questionable. Though they did get a lot of decent shots in. His mechanical skill at the game is very stellar. Being able to do all the things he does, but his prediction and readability of the game seems to be lacking. Or at least in this instance, perhaps he just wasn't playing at his top capacity, I guess. I don't know. Perhaps he's far better at the game than even this. I'm not trying to throw shade on him. It seemed very odd to me that they played the way they did, and then we just have some unprotected car humping going on back there. Don't worry about that. So it was a very, very interesting game to play with them. And it was right there after they got that second goal, I was beginning to feel like we were going to lose, which, well, as you probably guessed from the title, ends up being correct. Just not in the way you'd expect. Our rotation was suffering. I was going far more defensively than I should have been. I'm a far better offensive player, or I like to take far more offensive plays than I do defensive plays. So I'm a far worse player at defense than offense. But even through that, even though our rotation was beginning to suffer a little bit, I was really questioning what he was doing with that setup there. Allowing my buddy to get a really cheeky fly pass off. It was very interesting. And it was after this bit right here where the game got almost laughable. Because both my friend and I, our rotation is starting to suffer hardcore at this point. And I was honestly expecting us to just completely stuff the game right here. We were making several consecutive mistakes, as you saw. I missed several things, I missed several things. Missed setting several things up on the wall, our rotation was hitting off, our communication was lacking because we were too busy laughing at this guy's attempts at freestyling, which were, to be fair, very good. And that was the funny one right there, was he missed his full freestyle attempt, attempted to slam it off the back end and take it in on us, which ended up failing. And it was right there that my buddy and I we were laughing, because we were like, this guy, we've seen him do far more than that, and he just lets it slide then. But yeah, our own personal rotation was suffering quite a bit at this point, and our own decision making and individual skill at this point had taken quite a hit, which I was kind of surprised, being at 3v3 with just a minute left to go, as to why they didn't just pull out the stops and just take the game all the way home and win it. And this is where it got interesting. We see him attempt a stereotypical freestyle there, and nearly get it in, but lose out at the end, probably on some portion of the mechanic, and his buddy missed the setup. And then I got rammed out here. I thought for sure they're gonna get a goal there, and I don't know what his buddy did, but I guess he just choked or blacked out, you know, had a blackout moment, just missed off the keys. I'm stupid, not paying attention to my boost meter, and try to go for a cheeky wall hit that I have no potential to make. And then there's this freestyle attempt there, which I was weirded out by. At first I thought he was just attempting a freestyle on his own, then I thought he was setting it up for his teammate, and then he just carried it so far out it made zero sense. And then they nearly got that goal right there, and that was when we hit overtime, to which we promptly get a leave. He left! I'm confused. Why? While we've both been playing terribly, you are mechanically good at the game, and if you tighten your rotation up, it's overtime. You're likely to get a very, very decent set right on in on us, which didn't happen. And then they were just with his original friend and his now bought pal. And then I questioned my friend for that decision right there. Why would you chip it past me when I'm going for a full clear? And the guy's, Kraken's initial pal, you know, just non-existent at this point almost until we get to this point where I completely whiff the ball, and that's it. That's game. His buddy didn't do anything at the end there. It was all Outlaw. Outlaw did it all there at the end. And so that's the story of how me and my friend, who suck greatly at Rocket League, made a Season 8 Grandchamp Ragequit. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you want more Rocket League videos, let me know in the comments, and I'm sure I can find the time to produce some for you guys. We've had a lot of fun with Rocket League before, and I'm sure we'll have more in the future. I just thought this was hilarious, that two plat players going up against a Grandchamp and his buddy of unknown skill level in terms of competitive play were duked out so, I wouldn't say easily, but without too much skill differential. Yeah, that's been all for now. I've been Lonelywolf. I hope you guys did enjoy.